Welcome to our deep dive into the world of Dr. Joe Dispenza and all his work on rewiring your reality.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is. We're going to be focusing on his ideas about well-being and healing by breaking free from limitations.
Okay.
You shared his interview with us, and I know you're fascinated by the whole intersection of neuroscience and human potential.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's where a lot of this stuff gets really interesting.
Me too.
Like, how much power do we actually have over our own minds and bodies?
Yeah.
You know?
And one of the things that really stood out to me was how Dr. Dispenza suggests that positive thinking just isn't enough. You know, like just thinking happy thoughts won't magically transform your life.
Oh, totally. That's way too simplistic.
He argues that we need to become aware of all those ingrained unconscious patterns.
Right.
The thoughts, the feelings, and behaviors we keep repeating on autopilot.
Yeah, the things that keep us stuck.
Exactly.
I love the analogy he uses
Oh, yeah.
about being stuck inside a jar and unable to read the label.
That's a good one.
We need to step outside of ourselves to actually observe our own programming. He calls this metacognition.
Metacognition, I like that.
Yeah.
So how do we apply this to our everyday lives? Like, what are some jars that you encounter? Are there any limiting beliefs or patterns that you feel are holding you back?
That's a good question. I think for me, a big one is this fear of failure. It kind of prevents me from taking risks and really going after what I want.
I hear that. Fear can be such a powerful force.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Dispenza talks about how our thoughts and emotions actually shape our biology.
Oh, yeah.
He cites all this research that shows how just days of focused practice, like meditation or visualization, can lead to measurable changes in brain activity.
Wow.
Even gene expression in the immune system.
That's amazing. So it really shows that we have way more power than we think to influence our own well-being just by changing our internal state.
He even shares these incredible stories of people overcoming chronic illness, like by shifting their mindset and tapping into a deeper level of consciousness.
Oh, wow. There's this one story about a woman who arrives at one of his retreats in a wheelchair, reliant on oxygen and crutches.
Oh, gosh.
But by the end, get this, she's walking freely. Her health was totally transformed.
It's incredible what the body can do when we create the right environment for healing.
I know, it really makes you think. And it's not just about individual healing either.
You're right.
Dr. Dispenza's research delves into the power of collective consciousness as well. You know, like how groups of people meditating together can show this remarkable synchronicity in their biology.
Yeah, I've heard about that their bodies literally start resonating at the same frequency.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder what we could achieve if we could consciously harness that kind of collective power.
Oh, for sure. Imagine the possibilities.
Yeah.
Another point that really stood out to me was his suggestion to actually practice feeling the emotions you want to experience.
Oh, interesting. Like, what do you mean?
Like joy, gratitude, love. As if they're already happening. Oh, I see, because our bodies often can't tell the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one, right? So why not imagine the best?
Exactly.
I like that.
So we've talked about positive emotions, but Dr. Dispenza also encourages us to step into the unknown. You know, that space beyond our routines and belief.
The stuff that makes us uncomfortable?
Yeah, but he sees that discomfort as a good thing. Like, that's where real growth and transformation occur.
He's not afraid of a little discomfort.
He acknowledges that it can be scary.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he says we should try to practice being comfortable with uncertainty.
So instead of seeing uncertainty as a threat, we see it as an opportunity.
Exactly, an opportunity for creation.
I love that.
Me too. And finally, he stresses the importance of disconnecting from all the external stimuli.
All the noise.
All the noise, the news, social media technology.
Yeah, it's like we're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation.
It can be so overwhelming.
Totally, and it keeps us in a state of stress.
Right, and it distracts us from connecting with our own inner wisdom.
So he's suggesting that we need to make a conscious effort to disconnect.
Yeah, to carve out time each day to tune into ourselves.
That's easier said than done these days.
It is.
But in a world designed to capture our attention, choosing to disconnect becomes an act of self-empowerment.
It really does. All right, so we've talked about the importance of awareness.
Right.
Becoming aware of those unconscious patterns and limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and we talked about the power of our thoughts and emotions to literally shape our reality.
And the importance of stepping into the unknown.
And disconnecting from all the external noise.
So now let's dive into some specific techniques that Dr. Dispenza recommends for rewiring our brains and creating lasting change.
Okay.
One of the key things he talks about is making decisions with firm intention.
Like setting a clear goal and committing to it.
Exactly. But he takes it a step further. He suggests creating a specific moment in time that you'll always remember, where you make that decision.
Oh, wow. So it's like a defining moment.
Yes. And in that moment, you actually give your body a taste of the future emotionally.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's not just about thinking about what you want. It's about feeling it, embodying it.
So it's like you're already living in that future reality.
Exactly. And he says this helps to shift your energy and momentum in a whole new direction.
I can see how that would be powerful.
He also talks a lot about the neuroscience of change.
Okay.
Like how our brains essentially become a record of the past, a reflection of all our learned experiences.
Right, so we're kind of walking around with all this baggage from the past.
Yeah, and he says that we often wake up and immediately start thinking about problems.
Which keeps us stuck in that past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we just go through the motions, repeating the same automatic behaviors and habits.
And that creates a predictable future based on the past.
Right, so we're not really living in the present moment.
We're just reacting to the past.
Exactly. And that's why Dr. Dispenza emphasizes the importance of mastering the present moment.
Because that's where real change can happen.
Right, because that's the only place where the unknown actually exists.
The unknown, the land of possibilities.
And he says that we can actually train our bodies to be in that present moment in the unknown.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, this is where practices like meditation come in,
Oh, yeah.
where we practice noticing our thoughts and gently guiding our attention back to the present moment.
So it's about developing that awareness muscle.
Exactly, and it takes practice.
For sure.
But the more we practice, the better we become at it.
And the more we can free ourselves from the grip of the past.
Exactly.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is. So we've talked about the importance of presence, but Dr. Dispenza also dives into the importance of changing our emotional state.
Okay.
He argues that if we can shift how we feel, our personal reality will start to reflect that change.
So it's not just about changing our thoughts.
Right. It's about changing how we feel.
But he's not just talking about like forcing a smile.
All right. No, it's about becoming aware of the emotions we're actually experiencing and making a conscious choice to experience something different.
Okay, so how do we do that?
That's a great question, and we'll explore that in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome, I can't wait.
But for now, just take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far
Okay,
and think about what resonates with you.
will do.
And we'll pick up where we left off next time.
Sounds good. Okay, so how do we actually shift our emotional state?
Well, Dr. Dispenza suggests that we can start by practicing feeling those elevated emotions. You know, like gratitude and appreciation.
Those good vibes.
Exactly.
Because when you think about it, those emotions have actually been shown to have a positive impact on our biology.
Right, like they can boost our immune system.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. I mean, I know that when I'm feeling grateful, I just feel better overall.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like my whole body relaxes.
Yeah.
And he also talks about the importance of feeling love,
Love. Okay.
both
yeah.
for ourselves and for others. And I love how he proposes that love is actually an emotion that can be practiced and cultivated.
So it's not just something that happens to you.
Right. It's something you can choose.
Interesting.
He says that love has this incredible power to heal and transform us. And he suggests that when we truly love ourselves, we actually become capable of loving everyone.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
It's like that idea that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right, you need to fill yourself up first.
Exactly. And speaking of challenging emotions, Dr. Dispenza doesn't shy away from the topic of fear.
Fear, everyone's favorite topic.
Right. But he acknowledges that fear is a natural response.
Oh, for sure, it's part of being human.
But he cautions that it can also become an addiction that keeps us stuck in the past.
That's interesting.
So how do we move past that fear?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, Dr. Dispenza encourages us to actually practice facing our fears with our eyes closed first.
With our eyes closed.
Yeah, like in a safe environment, like meditation. That way we can become more familiar with the actual feeling of fear and learn to regulate our internal state without all those external triggers.
So it's like dipping your toes in the water before jumping in the pool.
Exactly. You get used to the feeling gradually.
I like that.
And he talks about relaxing our hearts.
Relaxing our hearts.
Yeah, and awakening our brains.
So it's about shifting out of that fight or flight mode.
Exactly. And into a state of presence and creativity.
That makes sense.
And he also discusses this concept of self-regulation.
Self-regulation.
The ability to control our internal state, regardless of what's happening around us.
So like being able to stay calm even when things are chaotic.
Exactly.
That's a valuable skill.
It is, and he says it's something we can develop through practice.
Like anything else.
Right. So we're not talking about suppressing emotions.
Okay.
It's about managing them.
Gotcha.
Like being able to recognize when you're feeling stressed or anxious, and then choosing to shift your focus to something more positive.
So it's about taking control of the wheel.
Exactly. And he suggests practicing self-regulation in a variety of situations, even those that trigger fear or discomfort.
So like exposure therapy.
Kind of, but it's more about building that mental muscle.
Okay.
So the more you practice, the stronger you become.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, another powerful technique that Dr. Dispenza talks about is mental rehearsal.
Mental rehearsal, like visualization.
Exactly. He explains that mental rehearsal is a way to create new neural pathways in the brain.
Oh, wow. So we're actually changing the physical structure of our brains.
Right. And remember, he points out that our brains don't actually know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So when we mentally rehearse something, we're essentially laying down new hardware in the brain.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
It is.
So we're basically pre-paving the road to our goals.
Exactly.
I like that analogy.
He suggests using mental rehearsal to practice new behaviors, to work through challenges, and to embody the person we want to become.
So it's like a dress rehearsal for life. And I imagine this could be really helpful for breaking those old patterns we were talking about earlier.
Totally. It's about creating new neural pathways that support the changes we want to make.
I'm definitely going to try this.
Me too. It sounds really powerful.
It does.
It is. So we were talking about mental rehearsal as a powerful technique,
Right.
and how it can help us break free from those old patterns.
Right, and how it helps us to actually create new neural pathways in the brain.
Exactly. But Dr. Dispenza doesn't stop there. He also emphasizes the importance of disconnecting from that constant stimulation from the outside world.
Yeah, all that noise and information overload.
All the stuff that keeps us in a state of stress and prevents us from connecting with our inner wisdom.
Makes sense. I mean, it can be hard to even hear yourself think sometimes with all the distractions around us.
I know, right? So he's basically saying we need to create some space in our lives for quiet reflection and introspection.
So carving out time for things like meditation or just spending time in nature.
Exactly. And I imagine he also talks about the importance of finding a supportive community.
Oh, he does. He says that having a community of like-minded people can be incredibly enriching.
Especially people who are on a similar journey of growth and evolution.
Yeah, because let's face it, change can be challenging.
Totally, we need that support system.
And he also talks about the importance of cultivating authentic relationships.
So it's not just about the number of people in our lives, but the quality of those connections.
Exactly. Relationships that are based on love, trust, and mutual respect.
Because those are the kinds of relationships that nourish our souls.
And help us feel a sense of belonging.
So with all of these ideas and practices in mind, what does it all mean for us? Like, how do we actually start to rewire our reality?
Well, Dr. Dispenza's work is really all about recognizing the power we have to shape our own lives.
The power of our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs.
Right, and realizing that we're not just victims of our circumstances.
But that we can actually become conscious creators of our reality.
And he offers all sorts of practical techniques for doing that.
Like meditation, visualization, mental rehearsal.
And gratitude practices.
All designed to help us shift our internal state.
So that our external reality can reflect that change.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
It is, and it can be challenging at times.
Oh, for sure. Change is never easy.
But the potential rewards are huge.
They really are. So for anyone listening out there, we encourage you to explore Dr. Dispenza's work for yourself and see what resonates with you.
Yeah, see if any of his ideas spark something within you.
Because ultimately, it's all about finding what works for you.
And taking those small steps towards creating the life you truly desire.
And remember, even small shifts can make a big difference over time.
So don't underestimate the power of those little changes.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has, and we hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring the incredible power within you. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.